Hey guys, this is Brantley and this is Art and Design for ESL. We're going to look at the elements of art today and we're going to start by looking at these four words. Medium, or the plural media, is the material that the artwork is made of. Subject is what does the artwork show? Is it a person? Is it a landscape? Representational is also about the subject. Is it a real world subject? Is it a person? Is it a place? Abstract is also about the subject. An abstract is a mentally created subject. An abstract can just be colors or shapes or lines. We can have a subject that is between representational and abstract, and in that case we use the term abstracted, A-B-S-T-R-A-C-T-E-D. So I can say it's a person, but it's an abstracted person. All right, let's look at the elements of art. Let's start with line. Descriptive line describes a shape. So with descriptive line, we have outline, contour line, scribble, hatching, and cross hatching. An outline describes the outside edges of a shape. Contour line describes the form. With art, with drawing, we're often describing 3D form in 2D shape. So with contour line, we're describing the form using 2D shape. Hatching are parallel lines often used to show shadow or shading. Cross hatching is simply hatching that crosses. And this is a scribble. We can have a round scribble like this. Implied lines are lines that are not really there. The world is made of edges. Edges are simply where two shapes meet, two forms come together. Hard edges are where we have two shapes that come together, as you see here. Soft edges are where we have two shadows that meet. You can see the difference between the light and the dark here, the soft edges. Closure is not a line, but closure happens in your brain to close a shape. Closure happens to create implied line. On the left, your brain is closing this shape to create a triangle. So your brain is creating implied lines by using closure to create a triangle. On the right, your brain is closing the shape to create a panda. Your brain is creating implied lines using closure to create an animal, to create a panda. Another implied line is a line of sight. The line of sight is the line from our eyes to what we're looking at. Artists often use this line to create a path for the viewer to follow. Expressive line does not just describe a shape, but it describes the artist's feeling. As you can see here, we have two balls. The ball on the left has a very different feeling from the ball on the right. So we're not just drawing a shape or form here. We are drawing feeling. We're drawing the artist's feeling. This feeling is very free, very open, very chaotic. And this feeling is much more ordered. It's a little bit of a different feeling here. Shape. Shape versus form. On the left we have a shape, on the right we have a form. Form is three-dimensional, shape is two-dimensional. We are often trying to create three-dimensional form by using two-dimensional shape, and this is an illusion. Ground is background and figure is foreground. Figure are the things that exist in images. They are the subjects very often. We can play with figure and ground just like in this poster of Batman and the Penguin. Positive shape and negative shape. On the left you see a chair. On the first drawing, you see the positive shape of the chair. In the second drawing, you see just the negative shape. And in the final drawing here, you see just the outline. So to put these together, we see the positive shape of the chair. The open and closed shapes. On the left you see an open shape, and on the right you see a closed shape. These hands represent open and closed shapes. An open shape allows space to enter into the shape, and a closed shape does not allow space to enter. Geometric shapes are man-made. They seem to be machine-made. They're very regular. Organic shapes are natural. They're more irregular, and they don't seem as man-made. They seem to be more like shapes you would see in nature. Shape constancy. Shape constancy is the idea that shapes in the three-dimensional world generally do not change. Solid material does not change. So for instance, in the real world, the shape of a door does not change. When we draw a door, we have to change the shape of the door to give the illusion of three-dimensional shape. So in this picture, we have three different shapes, but my brain, because of shape constancy, interprets these to all be the same door. Size constancy is very similar. Size constancy says that in the real world, no matter how far a person gets away from me, if a person walks far away, their size remains the same. In this two-dimensional picture, the person on the left in the red coat and the person on the right in the black coat are very different sizes. The person on the right is very small, and the person on the left is very small, and the person on the right is very large. In this picture, however, in the real world, we know that no matter that, if the person walks away from us, their size doesn't actually change. When we create a picture in 2 dimensions, we have to take that into account. All right, with color, color and value are 2 different aspects of what we see with light. Our color is a little off on this presentation, so the color here is a little bit different. Primary color is represented on the color wheel. We have blue, red, and yellow. The secondary colors are green, orange, and purple. And the tertiary colors are those colors in between. With color schemes, we can group colors together, such as warm colors or cool colors. Complementary colors are the colors on the opposite sides of the color wheel. I'm not going to go into the colors schemes in the middle here, or the other color schemes here, but different color schemes you can use the color wheel to represent different color schemes. Value is about black and white, and color is about hue. These 2 pictures here on the left represents hue, and on the right represents the value of those same colors. This is a value scale. Technically, white and black are not colors, but they are values. In the general world, we often we very regularly talk about white and black as being colors, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when we get technical, we often talk about white and black not being colors, but rather being values. With intensity of color, we can look at hue, tint, tone, and shade. Hue is a pure color. Tint is a hue plus white. A tone is hue plus white and black, and a shade is a hue plus black. With shape is again 2-dimensional. When we draw shape, we are very often creating the illusion of three-dimensional form on a two-dimensional surface. We do this on a flat picture plane. The picture plane is the flat surface of a painting. And there are some ways we can create the illusion of depth, the illusion of three-dimensional space. One of these is high-low placement. High-low placement says the objects that are higher in a picture plane appear to be farther away, and the objects that are lower appear to be closer. In this picture, the red hand appears to be closer to the viewer than the green hand or the yellow hand. With overlapping, the red hand also appears to be closer than the green hand because the red hand is overlapping the green hand. The red hand appears to be on top of the green hand. Linear perspective also creates the illusion of depth. With linear perspective, we use a horizon line and vanishing points. It's a very technical way to create depth. And another way to create depth is aerial perspective, where we use white and we use less detail for the objects that are further away to create depth. Now with framing, we can frame this image in different ways to give different pictures. So for instance, we can frame this image here, or we can frame this image here. So we're just choosing what frame, what image to show our viewer. Alright, with texture, we have actual texture. Actual texture is the texture that a real world, a real 3D object has. So the actual texture of a stone is the texture that you would feel on a stone. The actual texture here of a stone, this is a photo, so it doesn't actually have the texture, but a real stone would have an actual texture. This is simulated texture. We are using lines, we are using cross-hatching, we are using edges to create a simulated texture of a stone. In this picture, we are inventing a texture. We are painting a picture of a sky, but we are using brush strokes to create a texture that does not exist in the real world. This is an abstraction. So invented texture is an abstraction, and we are creating a texture that does not exist in the real world. Okay, that is the end of this presentation, and we will return for another presentation on the principles of design. Thank you very much for joining me for this, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have in the comments.